22. Your fellow students. Dear Alex, I talked in the previous letter about the need to be aware that you aren't being taught on your own, and mentioned a couple of ways in which the way you act can either disrupt or help your fellow students' education. I thought it might be an idea to write you a letter about how you should deal generally with your fellow students. Here are 3 pieces of advice: kindness and consideration. The bottom line is that you must always treat your fellow students with kindness and consideration. Remember that as a law student, you are being equipped with a set of skills: the ability to argue effectively in favor of a particular point of view, the ability to see clearly any flaws in a particular line of reasoning, the ability to determine when someone should be forced to act in a particular way that, in the wrong hands, will make you someone who is not particularly nice to know. You must ensure that the skills you are acquiring are tempered with kindness and consideration, so that those skills work to help other people and aren't used to drag them down. So if one of your fellow students is making an argument that strikes you as flawed in some way, don't stick the boot in and tell them they are talking rubbish. If you want to say anything, try to help them discover for themselves what the problem might be with their argument by asking them a question: but what about X? That will make them think about the weak point as you see it in their argument. If they still persist in their views, and they can't convince you that their views are correct, then leave it. There's no point in continuing the discussion. And when you are with other students in a small group teaching situation, and you get the chance to ask some questions of your teacher, try to share the questions around, and don't hog the floor. It would be a good idea if the students in your group met together beforehand to review the issues you all want to discuss and get some clarification on, so that everyone gets as much as possible out of the session when it happens. Study groups. I'm not sure whether trying to form study groups with your fellow students is a good idea. In principle, it's good to share ideas and work through problem questions and develop lines of argument for essays together. But the problem is that forming an official study group is fraught with problems. The problems are mainly one of exclusion, telling people that your study group doesn't have room for them, and dealing with members of the study group who aren't contributing very much, or are actually a negative influence on the group. So I think a better idea is to form informal associations with 2 or 3 like-minded souls, whom you can meet when required to discuss ideas, or to try to clear up some difficult area of law. Competition. Some students get very competitive in their studies. They try to ensure that they will do better than others by doing as little as possible to help others with their work. Try to avoid falling into this mentality. Unless you are a genius, you will do better working with others than you can do working in isolation from everyone else. Even doing something as seemingly one-sided as helping someone who is struggling to understand a particular area of law will actually end up helping you with your work, because having to explain that area of law in the clearest possible terms will help make that area of law clearer in your mind, and force you to confront any confusions about that area of law that you suffer from. All best wishes. Nick.